Well, let's bring the Thursday, September 21st, first day of fall, Webster Town Board meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What? Dolly, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Clary?
No. Here.
Councilman Abbott?
Here.
Councilwoman Capaldi? Present. Councilman Cahill?
Here.
Councilwoman Wynn? Here. Town Attorney Janeski?
Present. Well, our first order of business tonight is something that Councilman Cahill and Deputy Supervisor Dalby, I think you're going to come up to the podium up there. And this is a presentation in the memory of Charles Stiles.
And can we invite the family of Charles?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's meet at
Yes.
the podium. So this is a proclamation in memory of Charles Stiles. Whereas Charlie's life as a public servant was diverse and ran deep through all the years of his life. He was an exceptional man who made you feel you were blessed to be in his life. And whereas Charlie held the positions of vice president and president of the Webster Central School Board from 1982 to 1989, he was involved in Webster's Community Chest and served on the Webster Planning Board during this time as well. Whereas in 1995, Charlie began his 27 years on the Webster Board of Assessment Review, often serving as its chairman, from which he recently retired. He also became a fire policeman at Webster Volunteer Fire Department and an EMT at Union Hill Volunteer Fire Department, as well as a board member of the Northeast Quadrant Advanced Life Support. And whereas other positions Charlie was involved with through the years was being a member on the Board of Cooperative Education No. 1 and working as an election inspector and coordinator for many years. And whereas, in a word, Charlie was generous, always encouraging others to become the best they could be. Charlie spent his life sharing the knowledge he acquired from books and his own personal experiences. His traditional practices, grounded lifestyle, and beliefs were shared with so many individuals. And whereas Councilman Cahill and the Cahill family became neighbors with Charlie and his wife Martha around 2012, Charlie became a mentor to John both personally and politically. John said both Martha and Charlie were two of the kindest people he would ever meet. Whereas Charlie's devotion to his energy and time for the Webster community has not gone unnoticed. Webster is all the better because of his humble, gentle, and generous spirit. The Webster community thanks Charlie for all he has taught to others in his sacrifices for the good of Webster. As the saying goes, knowledge, you may get it from books, but wisdom is trapped within you, release it. That is just what Charlie Stiles did his whole life. I would also like to add a thank you to Martha and Charlie's entire family for sharing this true gentleman with the community. Anyone would like to say a few words? Okay, yes.
My family and I thank you for remembering Chuck. We call him Chuck, or Dad, with this proclamation for all he did for our community. We thank you.
Yeah. I think it would definitely be appropriate. Can I just, before you do walk out the door, Mrs. Stiles, I want you to know, and Dolly, I think you remember this, and it really touched us and Donna Komar, our assessor, that when Chuck, near the end, he called and was so apologetic that he was resigning from the assessor's board over the phone, and how it was, in his opinion, it was terrible for him and this and that. And I'm like, where does a guy like this come from? That when he is fighting what he was fighting, that he felt like he was letting us down, not giving a formal resignation letter. And I thought to myself, they don't make people like that anymore, unfortunately. Everybody, seems to point the finger at everybody else playing, and here was a guy who was, even right to the end, like, so accountable and whatever, felt embarrassed about that. That's something I will never forget.
That's what my dad was.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I hope if you're the grandchild, remember that about your grandfather, because that is a character aspect that just not many people have.
One of the other things I was thinking as I was reading that all that Chuck was involved in,
Yeah.
and I trust he still had a real job. He had a family. Where did he find the time to be so involved in the community? It's just, and I consider Chuck a friend as well. He was an incredible man.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
So, there's just the four of us,
Well,
right?
that's a tough one to follow up, but we're
Michelle.
going to move on.
Just the four of us. What's going on?
Our next agenda item tonight is our open to the floor section, where each speaker will be allowed up to 5 minutes. And I think we have 2 speakers tonight, Dolly. And first is Jen Fonseca.
Well, that's a hard one to follow, but good evening. I really didn't expect to be here tonight and addressing the board and how the board does represent our town and our community, the residents that live here. But this is a topic that I believe must be addressed because it's something that I do fight for each day, especially for our children. And I hope that you will be able to open your hearts and open your minds, no matter what side of the aisle you're on with this topic. We do need to be cognizant and really think about what we do as a town, as a board, and within the offices of our town hall. So I'm going to do some did you knows. Did you know in February 2021, the U.S. was warned about a large number of cases among healthy young people in Israel after COVID vaccination with myocarditis and was designated as a likely side effect of these shots. But yet, the U.S. officials kept and are continuing to recommend vaccination for virtually the entire population. Did you know other side effects reported to VAERS included pericarditis, stroke, autoimmune disease, turbocancers, infertility, miscarriages, stillborn, births, and even death, as well as other diseases? Did you know that in November 2022, and then through a FDA press release in December of 2022, in an official hearing by the European Parliament, asked Pfizer Director Janine Small for a straight answer to the question if Pfizer tested whether the jabs reduce or stop transmission, and Pfizer Director answered that no, quote, no research on the effect of these vaccines on transmission was performed. This answer was crucial because the population was under intense pressure to get vaxxed to protect others, keep their jobs, go to school, and to even keep Granny alive, quote unquote. Did you know in January 2023, the new COVID variant XBB.1.5, also known as Kraken, which by the way is the name of a huge sea monster in Norwegian legend, was identified, and that in the spring of 2023, the U.S. government authorized the purchase of a booster product to be made, although this variant was not a big problem, but yet they sponsored Pfizer and Moderna to build vaccines and manufacture them for this fall in anticipation of a surge in the Kraken variant. Did you know that in the late summer of 2023, Kraken is basically extinct and a new variant is circulating, which is called Eris, E-R-I-S. Did you know that this month, September 2023, the booster created and being pushed for this fall does not support the Eris variant, but yet the drug companies are trying to make a case that this mismatch will somehow protect against this variant? Also, did you know this Pfizer booster was only tested on 20 mice and no results of those tests have been published? Did you know that Moderna booster was tested on 50 people and reported one adverse reaction, which is 2% of that population? But Moderna won't release what the reaction was. Was it a seizure? Did the test subject pass out? Present with myocarditis, pericarditis, stroke, death? Did you know that the town of Webster is not a medical doctor and that the town of Webster is promoting this for babies 6 months and older and adults? That this could potentially make the town or one of us liable if someone is injured or dies with no clinical testing or research? I was shocked to see this in last week's September 18th newsletter being promoted by our town. We may never know the true number of people harmed by these jabs, but I bet we all know someone who has been. Please retract this marketing push to Webster residents. Let individuals and their doctors make the right choices for themselves, and hopefully with informed consent to the true effectiveness, safety, and known dangers. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen.
Very nice.
And next is Michelle Anderson.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start, I would like to say a big thanks to the Webster Police Department, the Monroe County Sheriffs, and the Town of Arundecoyt Police Department for their assistance and guidance in the recent spate of attempted burglaries that we've had in the village. We really do appreciate it. The residents are very thankful and grateful to all of them, and we know that they have our backs. That said, I handed out these pieces of paper with a list and websites of individual doctors that are world-renowned for their specialties. You can go to the websites and check them out. One name that I did not add to the list, his name is Ed Dowd. He is a former BlackRock analyst who has now become a force of nature in the fight against this vaccination. He has actuarial reports and all of the insurance information that is circulating among professionals that the insurance companies themselves are refusing to release even to their own agents. This is a plague upon humanity, not just the United States. The entire globe is suffering from this. Britain's death rate has skyrocketed. The disabilities are unthinkable, and they will leave people permanently disabled for the rest of their lives, and the rest of us will have to make sure that they are cared for. This was an act of war that no one really seems to be acknowledging, but that's exactly what it was. And if every person does not find out and inform themselves as to what this really was, and continues to be pushed on this population by a governor who should be removed from office, and personally I think she should be thrown in jail. She was not elected, and I pray to God she is not reelected, because we are going to pay this price for a very long time. And it has been said, the next generation will not be over with or through the effects of the vaccines that they received until 2035, which means the children who got these shots in all likelihood will not be able to reproduce. And if they do, the children that they have will be disabled. So please give this some thought. Read the research, and you know, it really is between the doctor and the patient. And I think most doctors now are coming to the understanding that they pushed something they knew very, very little about. that was created originally in 2014 to be used as a bioweapon. God help us.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next up is a couple of minutes, prior board meetings. 2 weeks ago, our regular board meeting on September 7th. I reviewed those minutes. I make a motion that we approve them.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wood?
And last week's September 14th workshop, I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Patty, I think you looked at the bills.
I did. I looked at the bills yesterday. Everything appeared to be in order, and I would move that we pay them.
Second.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And I have reviewed the prepaid warrants submitted by the Director of Finance, Paul Adams. I make a motion to approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
And I also make a motion to approve the purchase orders as submitted by the Director of Finance, Paul Adams.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye. Alrighty, the next two resolutions, I just want to give a brief explanation of this. These are both going to be tabled. They're sequential, related to the Coke Fairlight project, and within the sequence of the town board looking at these two to pass these resolutions. It really was contingent on the planning board doing a preliminary and final approval of the site plan. Is that correct, Josh?
That is correct, yes.
And 2 nights ago on Tuesday, September 19th, for a confluence of reasons, the planning board decided to table that until a decision on Coke Fairlife's preliminary and final site plans until the Tuesday, October 3rd, regular planning board meeting for the month. That's all the detail I'm going to get into unless people have questions on it on the board. It's easy to go back and watch the video or look at the minutes when they hit the website of the planning board as to the myriad of reasons why it was tabled to them. But without further ado, it really makes looking at these resolutions tonight ones that need to be tabled. If everything goes well for Coke Fairlight at the October 3rd planning board meeting, I would imagine they would be back here on October 5th. Okay. Any questions?
No?
All right, I make a motion that we table the resolution to approve a fill grading excavation permit for the Fairlight project at the eastern terminus of Tibor Road.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
And I make a motion to table consideration of an industrial use permit for the Fairlight project at the eastern terminus of Tibor Road.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Well, I guess Paul or a little explanation?
Yeah, the next one is to set the date for the public hearing for the 2024 preliminary budget. The budget, if you want to see the budget, it's actually on the town website. You'll find it under the finance department. And I believe next week, the Webster today will be mailed out with the complete line-by-line budget.
Yeah, I think, well, not next week, the week after.
Week after.
First week of October.
First week of October.
Yeah. So, any questions on that? No. All right. Just want to make sure I get this right, Dolly, that the the public hearing will be advertised in which Webster Herald?
We only need 5 days in the
This would be the October 11th? That's the October 11th edition. Okay, so I make a motion to set up the public hearing for the Webster 2024 budget for Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 7:30 PM here in the town boardroom, and to advertise said public hearing in the Wednesday, October 11th Webster Herald edition.
Second.
Supervisor Larry?
Aye?
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Webb?
Aye.
Paul? It's funny, when I saw this, I wondered if I should invite Judge DeSalvo or Judge Settler to come and explain, but do you think you can do it?
This is a grant that the court system applies for each year, and it helps one with capital improvements or whatever the needs are. It's not a large amount of money. I think last year it might have been a couple $1,000, but it does help them with some of the things they need.
It's interesting, and I'm going by memory, I think the maximum is $35,000.
Yeah.
But when the grant is submitted, they have to give a detailed line item by line item of what they're asking for. And I know, like you said, in years past, I know since I've been here, they've been $3,000 or $4,000.
Right. I think Dave Corritor was always on the mindset that if you ask for too much, you're probably not going to get it. So if there's something relatively small that we need, the chances are better. I'm not sure what they're applying for this year.
Okay. And from that standpoint, I mean, the board, you know, I mean, when you look at how this resolution is, we're giving the judges really latitude over the next month or so to fill in up to the maximum available, $35,000. It's a grant request. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about it? Okay. Then I make a motion to authorize the submission of the 2023-24 Justice Court Assistance Program, JCAP, application by the Webster Town Court for a request up to the maximum amount available. Second.
Supervisor Larry?
Aye?
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Webb?
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Josh, you want to give a brief explanation of the next four and some of the fun that we've had the last 1 to 2 months on the zoning board of appeals as far as the members and alternates?
Sure. So earlier this year, the board may recall that you approved a resolution to add 2 alternate positions to the zoning board of appeals in the event that regular members are unable to attend meetings, just to ensure that applicants have the opportunity to have their applications heard before a full board. So we were successful in bringing 2 new alternates on board, I believe in March, April. However, 2 of our long-standing board members have indicated that they can no longer serve on the board for a variety of reasons. So what these next resolutions essentially entail, filling the terms of those regular members and also restocking the 2 alternate positions.
It's a great way to describe it, restocking. I will say this, that 2 things before we vote on these. I want to thank Tony Kashani and Josh, actually Charlie, and John DeMarco, and Patty were involved in this too. As we saw the situation was in front of us, we said, well, how do we go about in a measured way to vet candidates, identify candidates, and then interview them and make sure we're making a good decision on these candidates. I thought it was a very collaborative effort. We ended up, I think, interviewing 6 people.
Yeah, I believe it was 6.
Yeah. And So that's one thing, and the other thing I want to say is that Barry Barone and Jamie Newtown, the chair of the zoning board, and I guess the deputy chair. Phenomenal move by these guys because they had very legitimate reasons to demur and resign from the board for personal reasons. We asked them, because of their experience on that board, can you stay on that board through the Code Fair Life ruling? If a project like that can't have 3 or 4 rookies of a 5-person board voting on something as complex as that was. And it shouldn't surprise anybody who knows Jamie and Barry Jerome. They agreed 100% they would stay on the board. And that thing got tabled a few times, so I think, Josh, they ended up on there for 2 more months than they originally planned. Never complained, did their civic duty, and I really heartfelt thank you to them.
Absolutely.
But the zoning board took care of the variances, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and as they were true to their word, I think they gave formal resignation letters to you down the day after, and here we are tonight. These people will be in place that we're about to do these resolutions on for the next monthly zoning board of appeals meeting on October 10th. Any questions? Make a motion to appoint Daniel Laganers to the zoning board of appeals to fulfill the unexpired term of Barry Barone ending on December 31st, 2023.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn. Councilman Cahill. Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Evans.
Aye.
I make a motion to appoint Christopher Santola to the zoning board of appeals to fulfill the unexpired term of Jamie Newtown ending on December 31st, 2027.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn.
I make a motion to appoint Richard Fiola as an alternate member of the zoning board of appeals to fulfill the unexpired term of Christopher Santola ending on December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn.
And I make a motion to appoint James Spampanato as an alternate member of the zoning board of appeals to fulfill the unexpired vacant position of the term ending on December 31st, 2025.
Second. Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lynn. Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
And just to put a ribbon around that last one, the vacant position, that's because I think a few months ago we moved Michael Short from alternate to the full board position.
That's correct. Yes.
And board members stick around because I'm sure within the next month we'll be doing a resolution on the zoning board chair, one step at a time. We need to get the crew together and kind of figure out who would be best suited to be the chair. So. All right, Josh, what you got on this one?
Okay, so the board may recall there was an application before them in early August for a telecommunications microcell facility, which is a rooftop installation on top of the Cherry Ridge property on Ridge Road. The town code requires a special use permit due to the zoning district that property is in. So the board referred the application to the planning board, and that application was heard at the September 5th planning board meeting. It did receive site plan approval and a favorable recommendation. So now it is back before the board for what will be a special use permit in October. However, there's a public hearing that's required as a part of that. So this next resolution is to set that public hearing for the next meeting on Thursday, October 5th, and it would be advertised in the Wednesday, September 27th edition of the Webster Herald.
make a motion to set a public hearing for Thursday, October 5th, 2023 at 7:30 PM here in the town board room associated with the installation of a microcell telecommunications facility at 900-965 Cherry Ridge Boulevard to be advertised in the Wednesday, September 27th edition of the Webster Herald.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Allen.
Right.
I think we started a little tradition a week or so ago. The liaison of the department does the resolution on the recycling and all that. That's the bad news, John. The good news is I think Charlie
John's not
researched.
here.
Yeah. Charlie, didn't you say that there can be like a blanket, you
I
have
think-
to read them
I
all off,
think
so you
everything-
can counsel.
It's already published, I think.
Right.
You can counsel Councilman Cahill on how to read that.
I move that we declare the following items for recycling as printed on this document. That's my motion.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye, I guess Patty,
I get the easy one tonight. I move to declare the following item for recycling from the sewer department, a Trimble GIS unit asset tag 3378.
Second.
Councilwoman Capelli.
Aye.
Councilman Abbott.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn. Aye. Supervisor Flaherty.
aye. And that concludes our formal agenda tonight.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to request a hearing executive session to deal with matter of existing litigation. So that would be under public officers law 105-1.
I'm gonna make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Who's invited?
Just me.
What if the chief was here?
Yeah, that's an interesting, because we didn't cross, we crossed lines here.
Okay.
Because I was gonna make that a motion, but this is more about a personnel issue, and I was gonna invite Chief Colmar.
No, it's actually.
No, this is the person.
So can we do two?
Yes.
Are you suggesting we have one for two different things?
Yes,
You
that
can't
is
do
correct. Because I think what you want to go over, Chief Colmar, it has nothing to do with, or does it?
Not exactly. I mean, yes and no, it does involve the police department.
Okay.
Cover all the bases, Tom, we're good.
What's that?
Cover all the bases, we're good.
I think we just did.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I think we approved the motion, it's 8:01. We will let you know when that means that, I hate to tell you, everybody, the meeting is over. And that is shut down the TV portion of this.
Could I say one thing?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, all these years, didn't curse 2 years ago.
Now it's all fast.
Yeah.
Shit's coming out, and they're not coming on these roads.
Yes, it does.
All these, like Rumble, all these podcasts, Rogan, they're all, it's all out there. I know it, I know it, yes. Yeah, Peter McCullough, all of it. Oh, yeah. You know who's all over this and has been since day one? Shannon Jordan. When it comes to COVID, she knows her stuff. She's got McCullough on there. I think she's had that down on there. She brings all these experts on.
I haven't seen it down at the show, but we went to the big